Every year, the world's most powerful leaders gather to decide the future of the global economy. 20 nations, 85% of global GDP. Decisions that affect billions of lives. But soon, Johannesburg, South Africa becomes the center of an event no one seems ready to talk about. Before we start, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. This is Africa Insights with Hikmah. Today we're looking at what to expect from the upcoming G20 Summit in South Africa and why it matters. Rome 2021, Bali 2022, New Delhi 2023, Rio de Janeiro 2024. But on November 22nd, 2025, history breaks its pattern. For the first time in 26 years, the G20 comes to Africa, to Johannesburg. But something is off. The world's largest economy just announced it's not coming without a clear explanation. First, a quick look at what the G20 is, because its history is the key to understanding why the summit matters now. 1997, the Asian financial crisis hits. Thailand's currency collapses. Indonesia, South Korea, Malaysia follow like dominoes. Trillions of dollars evaporate. The world realizes we're too interconnected for countries to solve financial crisis alone. So in 1999, the G20 was born. Finance ministers and central bank governors from 19 countries plus the EU start meeting annually. The G20 economies account for around 85% of the world's GDP. These countries control over 75% of global trade. Their combined population is about 2/3 of humanity. The membership spans every continent, making it a truly global economic grouping. But here is what's fascinating. Look at where these summits have been held. 15 times in Europe or North America, 4 times in Asia, 2 times in Latin America, but 0 times in Africa until now. Last November, Brazil hosted in Rio. Major wins is that the African Union officially became the 21st permanent member, joining in 2023. This was huge, giving 55 African nations and 1.4 billion people a collective voice. Brazil's presidency focused on fighting hunger, reforming global institutions, and sustainable development. They passed the Rio de Janeiro Leaders Declaration. Now the torch passes to South Africa. And South Africa has ambitious plans. Johannesburg, Egoli, the city of gold, built on the world's richest gold deposits, the economic engine of Africa, and in many ways, the perfect metaphor for what this G20 summit represents. This city tells a powerful story of extraction and transformation. Johannesburg's gold rush brought immense wealth, but not to the African people who lived there. It later became the headquarters of apartheid, where systematic oppression was planned and enforced. Yet, it is also the place where Nelson Mandela gave his first speech after 27 years in prison, symbolizing hope and change. Over time, Johannesburg grew into Africa's most industrialized economy. Today, it stands as the continent's financial capital, home to the Johannesburg Stock Exchange, the largest in Africa, and major headquarters for mining, finance, and telecommunications as well. Now, South Africa's leadership of the G20 comes with a bold vision, one that is not about empty slogans, but about shaking up the rules of the global economy. At the heart of this presidency are some game-changing priorities. President Ramaphosa's rally cry is a blueprint for rebuilding a fairer world. Also, rewriting the story of global wealth so that everyone, not just a few, can thrive sustainably. Africa is sitting on a treasure trove. 30% of the world's mineral reserves, including 80% of the platinum used in everything from catalytic converters to medical devices, 60% of cobalt, the lifeblood of electric vehicle batteries, and vast deposits of lithium, manganese, and rare earth elements. These minerals power your electric car, your smartphone, your laptop. But while raw cobalt from the DRC fetches around $30,000 per ton, once it's refined for batteries, its value jumps to $80,000 per ton. And yet less than 10% of that wealth flows back to Africa. South Africa's vision is why export raw materials only to import finished products. What if Africa processed its own minerals, created millions of jobs, built thriving industries, and kept the rich on the continent? African countries owe a huge amount of money, about $1.8 trillion to other countries and lenders. For some, paying back this debt costs us more than what they spend on healthcare. The conditions set by lenders often force these countries to cut important services, which hurts their growth and the well-being of their people as well. This system was created long time ago in 1944 at the Bretton Woods Conference. Now South Africa wants to change it completely. So it works better for poor countries, not just the rich ones. Together, these priorities are South Africa's push to transform global economies into something more just, more equitable, and truly sustainable. But we must ask, will the world listen? Now, coming back to the G20 Summit. Just 3 weeks ago, a major development changed the whole picture. On October 28, 2025, the United States shocked the world. It announced it would boycott the upcoming G20 Summit in Johannesburg. The official reason cited concerns over safety, specifically claims about violence targeting white farmers in South Africa. This marked an unprecedented moment. Never before had the US missed a G20 summit since the forum began. Through wars, financial crises, and global pandemics, the US always showed up. But this time, Johannesburg was where they drew the line. So, what's really happening? Let's step back and look at the facts. Farm attacks and murders in South Africa are a reality, and every loss is tragic, of course. Recent figures estimate around 50 to 60 such incidents annually. Yet, when compared to South Africa's broader context, where the overall murder rate ranks around the highest in the world, farm murders make up a very small fraction of violent crime. Research shows farmers, including white farmers, face real risks, but these attacks do not occur at rates higher than the national average. Most are linked to robbery and isolation, affecting farmers of all backgrounds. Meanwhile, violent crime impacts many South Africans, often disproportionately affecting Black communities. Experts and academics emphasize there is no evidence supporting claims of widespread racially motivated violence or anything resembling systematic targeting. So, why did the US make this decision? Political analysis suggests several layers at play. Domestically, this narrative resonates with certain voter groups and aligns with a broader message of protecting communities. Internationally, it sends a signal to South Africa amid complex diplomatic relations, including the country's historical ties with BRICS nations and its critical stance on global issues. It also fits into a broader transactional approach to foreign policy where alliances and engagement are conditional. As one former US ambassador to South Africa noted, this move signals a significant shift in America's leadership role on the continent, raising questions about the future of global partnerships in Africa. In the end, the boycott opens a larger conversation about safety, politics, and the evolving landscape of international diplomacy. Now, let me tell you why this matters beyond one summit. In diplomacy, an empty chair is never just an empty chair. What it signals to Africa specifically is your historic moment is not worth our presence. We will engage on our own terms, not yours. And it also echoes colonial era attitudes. And to other nations' perspective, China, already Africa's largest trading partner, sees an opportunity. And Russia, expanding Wagner Group and resource deals, gains legitimacy. EU must decide. Follow US or maintain relations. While America sends an empty chair, let's see what China's been doing. Of course, Belt and Road Initiative in Africa. Over $1 trillion invested since 2013, built railways in Kenya, ports in Djibouti, stadiums in multiple countries. It also provides 5G infrastructure, solar farms, hospitals, and Chinese trade with Africa in 2000. $10 billion in 2024, $282 billion, and Chinese President Xi Jinping has visited Africa 4 times since 2013. When we look at the US trade with Africa, in 2024, approximately $45 billion, last US presidential visit to sub-Saharan Africa was in Biden time, to Angola in 2024. Before that, Obama in 2015. And now, seriously, think about it. You don't need to be a geopolitical analyst to see the pattern or understand the situation. This summit is unfolding at a pivotal moment, a massive inflection point in global history. Around the world, tectonic shifts are reshaping power and also influence. Consider the BRICS coalition, which just expanded in January 2024 to welcome Egypt, Ethiopia, Iran, and the UAE. This growing bloc symbolizes a new center of gravity in global affairs. Meanwhile, the wave of de-dollarization accelerates as countries increasingly trade in local currencies, signaling a shift away from traditional financial dominance. At the United Nations, a powerful coalition of 134 nations known as the G77 plus China advocates for the interests of the global south, pushing for a more balanced and inclusive world order. Change is already underway. Everyone can see that. The real issue now is whether the United States plans to be part of shaping what comes next, or if it's comfortable letting other players set the direction without it. And once the summit gets underway, the negotiations, side meetings, and statements from world leaders quickly show the directions, things are heading. We can expect groundbreaking agreements focused on localizing the entire mineral value chain, from mining to processing to manufacturing. This is not just about exporting raw materials anymore. The goal is to create millions of jobs across Africa by 2030, to foster technology transfer from developed economies, and to launch an ambitious roadmap for African industrialization. This framework could redefine the continent's role in the global economy from supplier to powerhouse. This summit may see moves to restructure the international financial system, including the voting shares within the IMF and the World Bank, aiming for fairer representation of African nations. Africa faces a staggering $280 billion annual climate finance need by 2030, and the summit could pave the way for innovative debt for climate swaps to ease financial burdens. Reforming credit rating agencies, who often rate African countries unfairly compared to their debt levels, could also be on the table, removing barriers to investment and growth. We can also look for increased integration of the African continental free trade area with G20 economies. Currently, only about 15% of Africa's trade happens within the continent, far behind Asia's 60%. The ambitious target is to boost intra-African trade to 50% by 2035, unlocking vast economic potential and fostering regional resilience. And beyond the policies and numbers lies something deeper and more profound. For the first time, Africa is demanding fair trade. It's taking leadership. It's also rejecting extractive partnerships and building new alliances based on mutual benefit and respect. Across the continent, young entrepreneurs, innovators, and visionaries are following these developments. African tech startups are booming, renewable energy projects are lighting up communities, African-led initiatives are charting a new course for the future. This generation, the one witnessing this summit, is the one that will lead Africa in 2050. They're learning a vital lesson: we belong at this table. As for the United States, only time will tell if this decision was a smart or a mistake. There is a lot of risk. By not coming to this important meeting, the US might lose its influence in Africa, the fastest growing continent in the world. Africa is full of resources, young people, and new opportunities. It's no longer far away from the world's big stage. It's becoming a key player. The US leaves room for other countries to build stronger ties with Africa, and that is by stepping back. These other powers are ready to make new deals and partnerships. At the same time, this decision could hurt America's relationship with 54 African countries, all of whom have a voice at the United Nations and in global affairs. So, how can a country lead the world if it chooses not to be part of important events like this? Johannesburg is set to host a summit that could change the game, but already something feels off. Inside the International Convention Center, Leaders from 20 countries have taken their seats ready to negotiate the future, yet one chair sits empty, a quiet detail that says everything on its own about who's choosing to stay away and what that means for the world watching. But here's the truth. This summit will not be remembered because America is missing. It will be remembered because Africa is there, strong, ready, and determined. Across Africa, from Nairobi's growing tech hubs to the bustling markets of Lagos, from clean energy projects taking off in Cape Town to innovative startups in Accra, people are stepping up and making their voices heard. Young entrepreneurs, community leaders, and thinkers everywhere are showing they're ready to take charge and shape the future. And as I always say, Africa's wealth has been taken away. Its gold, diamonds, oil, and people have helped make other continents rich. But Africa itself stayed poor. Every empire and system has its time, and every system changes eventually. This meeting won't fix all the problems or undo all the damage from the past. One meeting, of course, cannot solve everything, but it can be a new start. It shows that Africa will no longer wait quietly, a line in the sand that says things will be different this time. This summit is like a turning point. The table is ready and Africa finally is speaking for itself. And that's it for today. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe, and share. You're watching African Talk with Hikmah. See you in the next one.